Morning, everybody. Welcome to our training on PayCom's employee self-service. So just before we get started, everybody should be able to see my screen. It says it's go time. Welcome to PayCom's employee self-service training. So make sure you are logged in to the Zoom meeting and are able to see my screen. Also, if you could try to keep your phones or computer audio on mute during the training, just to try to reduce the background noise. And then if you have a question at any point, you can either take yourselves off mute and ask the question, or you can also submit those through the chat, and I'll also be checking there and answering any questions as well. All right, so today we are going to be going through PayCom, which is the new payroll, HR, and timekeeping system that will be used starting this month. So as part of today's training, we are going to go through important dates over the next couple of weeks as we transition to PayCom. We'll go through how to log into PayCom through the app on your smartphone or through your computer. We'll go through an overview and demonstration on how to use the different features within employee self-service. And then I'll also discuss the data verification checklist, which is just a quick checklist that will walk you through verifying that all of your data came over correctly from the previous system. If you have any questions, like I said before, but for anyone who may have just joined, you can either take yourselves off mute at any point, or you can also just submit those to the chat box in Zoom, and I will check there throughout the training. All right, so starting out with our important dates. Everybody should have received their login information yesterday, Tuesday, June 8th. So these were sent out to your Work Inc. email address. If you have not received it, make sure you double check your email. You can search for PayCom. Sometimes you may have missed it, or check your trash or spam as well. If you still are not able to locate it, you can always reach out to HR or payroll, and they will be able to get that resent to you. All right. Just double checking the chat real quick. All right. So next date is the date that you will start clocking in and out in PayCom. That is Sunday, June 13th. So that will be the first date that you're using PayCom to punch in and out.
Excuse me, Caitlin.
Yes.
Punching in and out, is that for everybody on the 13th or just for the individuals?
That is just for the individuals that are on the payroll. There's two separate payrolls, different processes.
Okay.
Yeah.
We was trying to set them up this morning. I just had a group in here trying to set them up, and we were not able to. We can't get into each of their email accounts, so we're gonna try to take care of that today, because we all got the PayCom stuff and we set ours up, but all the individuals didn't. So we had a team in here trying to get in their stuff, and we was having trouble getting in because we don't get their emails.
Yeah. So if you have a question on getting into the email accounts, I would reach out to IT on that. I know the admin team has access to the usernames and passwords as well without getting the email address, so you might want to check with Sharon on that, because I know they have an access to it.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, so just to recap, they will start clocking in, the individuals will start clocking in on Sunday, June 13th. Your accrual balances or time off balances will be loaded by Friday, June 25th. So keep this in mind when you log into PayCom, you will not see the accrual balances quite yet, just because we have to wait until that last payroll has been processed with the current payroll system. The verification checklist will be due by Friday, June 25th as well. That is the last day of the pay period, so we just want to make sure everybody has verified their information prior to processing payroll the week after. And then the first check date would be Friday, July 2nd. All right, so moving on. When you receive your email with the login instructions, there will also be two links within the email that will have links to the App Store and Google Play Store, where you can download our app. Everything that we go through today, you can access both from the app or from your computer. So if you do have a smartphone, I would encourage you to download it so that it's getting in and out of the system a little bit faster. It will let you set up a quick login, which is when you can log in with your fingerprint, facial recognition, or a PIN. If you use any of those features on your smartphone, it will also work with the app. So it just makes it a little bit faster than entering your username and password every time you want to log into the system. But also keep in mind, everything can also be accessed from any internet-enabled device that you have. So if you do not have a smartphone, you can do all of this through your computer, tablet, anything with internet access. So today you're going to learn how to log into PayCom and change your username and password. We're then going to go through how to clock in and out and fix any incorrect punches or any missing punches. We'll also review how to request time off and how to view your balances, your accrual balances, how to update your information, and how to complete your verification checklist. We'll also look at how to view your pay stub and year-end tax forms, and then all of the different resources that are available to you if you have any questions on anything PayCom related or anything HR or payroll related as well. So when you receive your login information, either within that email or within the export that I mentioned before that the admin team has access to, you will have your username and password, which is what you'll use to log into the system. You can either log in through the app or just by going to paycom.com, and you will enter the username and password and the last 4 digits of your social, and then it will automatically prompt you to change your password and answer 5 security questions. Anytime in the future that you log in from a new device, it will ask you to answer 2 of those security questions. So just make sure you're keeping track of your questions and answers so that you don't have any issues getting logged in the future. You'll also be able to change your username to something that's a little bit easier to remember, which I'll go through in just a second, but it will automatically prompt you to change your password. You don't need to remember what gets assigned to you. All right, so any questions before we move into the system and go through a demonstration on how to use PayCom?
And you did say we can change our username, or we can't?
You can, yep, I'm about to do that in just a second.
All right, thank you.
Yep. All right, and just a reminder, if anyone joined a little bit later, just make sure your phones or computer audio are on mute just to reduce some of that background noise. And then if you have a question, you can always unmute yourself as well or submit it through the chat. All right, so this is what your homepage will look like the first time that you've logged into PayCom. All of these tiles here on the front page are the same as what you'll see on the top toolbar, so you can navigate either way. The first thing that I would recommend everybody do when they log into the system is change your username, because you're going to be assigned a username that is a little bit hard to remember. It's a jumble of 9 letters and numbers. So in order to change it, all you need to do is go into My Information, change password or username. You will see the username that you are assigned right here, and you'll just select Change Username, input an email address, and click Update Username. It does have to be an email address, so it needs to have the @ sign and the .com, .org, whatever it is. So just keep that in mind. If you are changing your username, it does have to be in the format of an email address. It doesn't matter which email address you use. Does anyone have any questions on changing your username before we move on to punching in and out?
Caitlin?
Yes.
Caitlin, quick question. Does the username have to be affiliated with Work Inc., or did I hear you correct? It can be any email we use.
It could be any email.
Thank you.
Yep. All right, so we are going to go through time and attendance next. So like I said, this is going to begin on Sunday, June 13th. That will be the first day that you are clocking in and out using PayCom. And you will have a couple different options on how to clock in and out. The first one is the kiosk, which will look like this and will be set up at different tablets at the location that you work at. All you need to do is enter your employee ID number, and you would log right in and see the current time and your punch buttons over here, and you would be able to punch in just by selecting the punch button. So if I'm going to punch in for the day, I would just select in day, and it will show you that the punch was successful. So once again, the kiosk will be set up at different tablets within the location that you work at. If you're not sure where to find the kiosk, you can contact your manager and they'll be able to point you in the right direction. And all you need to do is enter your employee ID number, which you, if you also are not aware what your employee ID number is, you can ask your manager about that as well. Log right in and just select your punch buttons right over here. I saw someone raise your hand. So do you have a question?
Yeah, so if, Caitlin, this is Paula. If you have, you're using the app, do you have to put your employee ID number in every time, or is it automatically going to know that's who you are? Just the common kiosks that you have to put your ID in.
Exactly. So if you're using the app, you're going to be using what's called the web time clock, and I'll show you that in just a second, how to use that.
Perfect, because they'll never remember those IDs.
Perfect. All right, so this is one option. You have the kiosk. It's definitely the fastest option, especially if you have a shared device, just because all you're entering is that employee ID number. But your other option is just within employee self-service. So within employee self-service, so whether you're logged in on a computer or you're logged in on your smartphone, you're going to see this web time clock option under time management. And you can click on that and it will look just like the kiosk. It'll show you the current time and your current status. And you'll just use the punch buttons right over here to record your punches. So let's say I'm punching out for lunch. I would select out lunch. And this is just asking you if you want to make time clock your default, which you can either choose to do or not to do the first time that you log in. And then it will show you that your punch was successful. So now I can see it's successful because it displays over here on the right-hand side where you can see your 10 most recent punches.
So when I look on my app, I see under time management either web timesheet or punch change requests.
Are you exempt, Paula? Because you might not see the time.
Oh, yes. Yep.
Okay, yeah. So this is, we have this assigned based off of
good to know. Okay.
Factors, yeah. All right, perfect. So one more option to clock in is from your homepage, whether you're logged in on your computer into employee self-service or through the app. You'll also have this quick punch button in the upper right-hand corner or in the lower right-hand corner if you're logged in through the app. And when you click on that, it will show you, once again, your current status, and you'll just click the punch button right here to record your punches. So once again, once you've selected, it will show you the punch was successful. So just to recap that, you have a couple different options to clock in. You have the kiosk, which will be set up at different tablets within the location that you work at. It is very fast to use the kiosk because you just need to enter your employee ID number and then clock in that way. You can also clock in just by logging into employee self-service and selecting either the web time clock button or the quick punch button right up here. The next thing that we're going to review is your timesheet, which is where you will be able to see all of your punches and submit a punch change request if something is incorrect on your timesheet. So to access that, you're just going to come into time management and then web timesheet read only. From here, you will see your timesheet with all of the punches that you made at the kiosk or the web time clock. You'll be able to see your total hours for each day, your total hours for the week, and down at the bottom, it will show you your total hours for the pay period, and that will break out anything you might have on your time card. So if you had overtime or time off, PTO, vacation, anything like that, it will all be broken out for you at the bottom so that you can see your total hours and total dollars as well. If anything is incorrect on your timesheet, so if you forgot to punch, you have a missing punch, or maybe one of your punches is incorrect, you'll submit a request through your timesheet for that to be updated so that your manager can approve it. So for example, you'll see here on Tuesday, I punched out at 5 p.m., but I never punched in. You can tell that because there's 2 question marks here, which indicate you have a missing punch. There's 0 hours for the day, and then there's also a missing punch icon over on the right-hand side. To correct it, all you need to do is click on the 2 question marks, and it will populate a request new punch. So here you would just enter the time that you arrived that day. Let's say it was 7 a.m. You would just type in 7 a.m. You can add a comment for your manager. And then once you've done that, you would just select add request, and it would notify the manager that you have submitted a punch change request. And once they have approved it, you as the employee would get an email letting you know that it's been approved or denied. If you can also add a punch change request just by clicking request new punch at the top of the time card. So if you forgot to punch the entire day, so you don't have any existing punches to click on, you can always select request new punch, enter the date, time, the type of punch, a comment, and click add request, and that would also submit that request to your manager for approval. You can also click on existing punches. So for example, if this 8 a.m. punch was actually 7 a.m., but maybe you forgot to punch until an hour into your shift, you can click on that punch and adjust the time. So I can say 7 a.m., add that comment for your manager right here, and then click add request. Once again, once that's been added, the manager will be notified that it's been submitted. All right, is there any questions on timesheets or punch change requests before we move on?
Yes, Caitlin, 2 stupid questions. I have a full-time employee who works 8 hours, so he's entitled to a lunch. Will he have to sign out and then sign back in?
So we do have the option for an automatic lunch. I'm not familiar with who has the automatic lunch and who doesn't. But I would double check with the admin team on that. So like Sharon and Paula and Sequoia, and see if check that specific employee, and they can look into their profile and see if they have that automatic lunch. And if not, they can adjust it to have it or not have it depending on what the situation is.
Okay. And the other question is, when you're signing in for the day, is there a leeway that they can sign in and be okay? Like if they say they start at 8 a.m., can they punch in at 10 of or 5 of without causing a problem, or do they have to sign in and sign out at the exact hour?
So they should be signing in and out when the shift begins. They will be able to punch in ahead of that or after that. There's no restrictions on like when they can punch in, but it will not round. So if they punch in at 7:50, it's going to pay them for 7:50. It's not going to pay them from 8 a.m. Does that answer your question?
No. If I have an employee that starts at 8 a.m. and he punches, and the normal is 10 minutes before your shift starts without causing a problem, will he be required to punch in at exactly 8 a.m.? Or can he punch in at 7:55 and not cause a problem?
He will be allowed to punch in at 7:55, but it will pay him from 7:55 forward. So this is one of the items we discussed as an admin group as well, and it was decided not to add the rounding rules. It is something we have the option of in the system, so if you wanted to speak to Sharon on that more, she would be able to provide more insight, and if we need to adjust it, we can.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions on time and attendance before we move on to time off requests? No? All right, perfect. So the next item we're going to review today is how to submit a time off request. Keep in mind when you are logged in, if you are logged in right now, you will not see this option because it will not be live until later this month. And that's just because we have to wait until the final payrolls with the current system have been processed. So once it is live, you'll be able to submit your time off request by coming into time off request and then request time off. From here, you'll be brought into your time off calendar that will show you all of the requests that you've submitted so far through the system, and they will be color coded so that you can see the status of the request. All of the colors are at the top so you can see what they represent. Yellow is requested, so it's still pending. Green is approved, and then red is denied. If you want to submit a new time off request, all you need to do is click on the green plus sign for the date that you want to request off. It will then ask you how many hours the request is for, the type of request, the date range of your request. Keep in mind with this type drop down, it may look a little bit different than my demonstration account. It will be specific to anything that you are currently eligible for. So any accrual that you're currently eligible for, you'll still have access to submit through PayCom, but it just might look a little bit different than my account. Then you'll enter the dates range. If that date range flows over a weekend and you don't work on weekends, you can always keep the exclude weekends button checked off, and that would just ignore Saturday and Sunday. So an example of where this could be useful is if you don't work on weekends and you want a Friday and a Monday off, you could enter that as one request and it would just only add it for Friday and Monday. There's also an option to add a comment down at the bottom if you'd like, and then it will show you your projected balance as of the date that you're requesting off. Once you've added the request, it will show up as yellow or pending on your time off calendar, and the manager will be notified. If you need to make a change to the request once it's been submitted, you can click right on the request, make an adjustment. So let's say I only want 4 hours, you can adjust that to 4 hours right here and click update, and that will notify the manager again. Or if you want to remove the request because you're no longer taking the day off, you can also just select remove, and that would also notify your manager that you've removed the time off request. From the top of the page, you can also view your hours available. So hours available will show you each accrual that you're eligible for, how many hours you currently have available, how many hours you have approved in the future that you haven't taken yet, how many hours you have requested in the future that haven't been approved or denied yet, and then the three of those together give you your net available balance. So your net available balance is just your current hours available minus your future hours that have been approved minus your future hours that are still pending or requested status. Once again, this won't be live quite yet just because we have to wait until the final payroll with your current provider has been processed, but you will see this added by Friday, June 25th. Does anyone have any questions on time off requests before we move on? So we will move on to the next item, which is the employee verification checklist. So this checklist has been assigned to all employees, and you'll see it as a notification when you first log into the system. It will walk you through verifying that all of your data came over correctly from the current payroll system and that it's still up to date in the new system. So we are asking that everyone complete it by Friday, June 25th, but it should only take you a couple minutes to complete, and you can access it from anywhere. When you're logged into PayCom, all you need to do is click on the notification to access the checklist, or you can always just select Employee Verification Checklist under Checklist. From here, you'll see each task that you need to complete, and all you need to do is click Start, and it will bring you to that task to complete within the system. So for example, if I want to start here with address and contact info, I would just click Start, and it will bring me into this page where I can confirm my demographic information. And once you've completed it, it will bring you right back to the checklist and start the next task. On this task, you're just confirming your demographic info at the top of the page, email addresses, phone number and street address, and emergency contacts down at the bottom. anything is incorrect, outdated, missing, make sure you update it and then just click update and it will bring you back to the checklist to start the next task. Everything is already correct in here. You can just click update and it will also bring you back to the checklist for the next task. This is also where you would come at any point in the future if you move or change your contact information. You can always update it in the system just by coming into My Information, address and contact information, and it will make those changes automatically and you wouldn't need to worry about recording it anywhere else. The next item you'll need to complete on the checklist is your EEO information. So the checklist will automatically bring you into this task, which just asks you to identify your gender, ethnicity, and disability status. This is all voluntary, but once you have completed it, or just you'll just click update at the bottom, and then it will bring you back to the checklist and show that you've completed the task. Everything else to verify will be under payroll. So pay rate is where you can go to confirm your hourly rate or your biweekly salary. If anything looks incorrect here, make sure you let HR or payroll know, and they will help make sure that that gets corrected. Also under payroll, we have tax setup, which is where you can go to view or make changes to your federal or state tax setup. So if you want to change your federal taxes or your state taxes, you do not need to fill out a W-4 or a state tax form. You can just make the changes directly in PayCom. So at the top of the page, you'll see your federal setup, which was brought over for you from the current system. You don't need to refill it out. We're just asking you to double check it. And then below that is your state tax setup. Same thing, it was all brought over for you. It should match exactly what you had previously. But if you want to make changes now or at any point in the future, this is where you would go to make the changes. For example, let's say I wanted to change my Massachusetts exemptions to 3 instead of 2. You can just select 3 right from that exemptions dropdown. If you wanted to withhold additional dollar amounts, you can also update that here as well for both Massachusetts and for federal at the top. Just make sure that if you make any changes, you click sign and update at the bottom. That will just ask you to sign the form and you'll see your taxes are updated on the next payroll. So any changes to taxes moving forward, you can make directly in PayCom. Next item is your scheduled earnings and deductions. This is where you can go to view all of your scheduled earnings or deductions. So if you have any scheduled earnings, any scheduled deductions like medical or dental, they will all be listed out here with the scheduled amount or scheduled percent. Anything looks incorrect, you can always let HR or payroll know, and we can look into that and make sure that it gets corrected before the first payroll. Lastly, direct deposit is where you can go to confirm your direct deposit information. It will ask you to answer 2 security questions when you access this page, just because it's sensitive information. But once you've answered those, it will bring you in to where you can view your direct deposit information, and you can edit your main accounts, additional accounts from here as well. If you wanted to add in an account, you would just select add account. Select whether you want it to be your main account, and then you would just enter the bank name, whether it's a checking or a savings account, the routing number, account number, and click save. Once you've added in a main account, you can also add in distribution accounts as well. If you want, let's say $200 to go to one account and the remainder of your check to go to a different account, you can add in those additional accounts as well. With direct deposit, you will see the information that you had previously brought over for you. You don't have to add it again, but we just want to make sure that everything was brought over correctly. So double check your routing and account numbers, the amount of money going into each account if you have multiple accounts. And then if you do need to make changes, you can make those directly from this page. All right, does anyone have any questions on those items we just reviewed, or updating your direct deposit or taxes or completing your checklist?
Excuse me, as you was talking, I'm trying to update the list. After I finish and I go back, it's still saying that we need to update more. It still has the start. even after you update it and all the information is correct, you hit update, and when I go back to my list, it's still showing like it still needs, like something needs to still, it's still showing that it's there. 0 out of 5 needs to be done.
So when you're accessing it through the checklist, are you going into the checklist and then clicking start?
Yeah, I was clicking on the little, the alarm, and I clicked on employee verification checklist, and I hit the start on like the address and contact information. Everything is good there. It asked me to verify my phone number, the email address, and then I got down to the bottom. I put a emergency contact in, and when I hit update, I mean everything looks good. There's nothing that's showing up. Anything. Oh, there it is now. I must have had to go back. Okay, it says completed.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, just make sure you are completing it through the checklist. Sometimes some people might think to just go in and confirm the tasks. You have to initiate it through the checklist, which is a little bit easier anyway because it will walk you through the items you need to complete.
Yeah, I can confirm that because I just did it the other way. When you said the information, I just went into the information just to see how it would work, and it did not. It said I had not completed the task. So then when I went in to the task list, just went back in, it didn't change anything because I'd already done it. Hit OK, it now is off the list. So good to know.
Yep, the checklist will walk you through everything, and then you can. I'm just demonstrating where you can access them if you need them in the future, like you want to update your address or direct deposit. But when you're doing the checklist, you'll do it through the checklist. Great. Any other questions before we move on? No? All right. So the next item we're going to review is how to view your pay stubs. So starting with the first payroll in July, all pay stubs can be accessed through PayCom. So to access those, you'll go into payroll, view pay stubs, and this will bring you into where you can see all of the pay stubs that have been processed with PayCom. So to view the actual check stub, you can click on the check number or the net amount, and that will bring you in to where you can view the check details. So this will show you an overview of your paycheck. And you can also access the pay stub or the PDF version just by clicking print pay stub. And that will bring you into where you can view the pay stub, and you can save it to your computer from here or print it if you need to as well. You can also batch print your pay stub. So if you, let's say we're going to the bank for a loan and you needed your 10 most recent paychecks, you can select as many as you want at once and then click the print icon, and that will just allow you to print them all at once or save them all at once so that you don't have to go one by one. You will also see your totals for the first 2 quarters of 2021 loaded in here as a lump sum. So that is just so that you only get one W-2 this year, and it comes from PayCom. So you will see that information from the current payroll system loaded in as a lump sum towards the end of June. You can also view your totals for the year under year-to-date totals. This will total up all of your earnings, deductions, taxes, and net pay for 2021 moving forward. And as each payroll is processed, you'll see these updated with the additional amounts from that payroll. Also under payroll, you have your year-end tax forms. This is where you can get a digital copy of your W-2 or 1095 at the end of each year. So you'll still get copies in the mail, but if you misplace your paper copy or need additional copies, these will be saved in PayCom for each year you're on PayCom. Any questions on payroll? All right, last couple items for today's training. PayCom will also be used to handle benefits as well, so open enrollment, new hire enrollment, and then any qualifying events. If you have a qualifying event, such as a life event where you're now able to change your benefits in the middle of the year, you can submit that through PayCom by coming into benefits and then qualifying events. With benefits, keep in mind you also may not see this icon quite yet either. This will be added towards the end of June as well. So if you don't see this, don't be alarmed. So from this page, if you do have a life event, you would just click Add Qualifying Event, select the date of the event, the type of event, a note for HR, and then supporting documentation such as a birth certificate, marriage certificate, something you lost coverage, you would upload something that shows you've lost coverage, anything to show that the event has occurred. Once that's been submitted, it would be sent to HR for approval, and then once they've approved it, you would be able to go in and update your benefits. You can also see what benefits you're enrolled in under current benefits. This will show you each plan, what your coverage level is, who your dependents or beneficiaries are, and then how much you are paying for that as well. Finally, we also have benefit forms and links, which is where you can access documents and URLs about the plans that you're enrolled in. So if you had any questions on anything benefit related, or you needed to go to your provider's website, all of those important benefit documents and benefit links can be accessed here. So a great resource for any benefit related question. So I see the question in the chat about not having a print. I think you're referring to the pay stubs screen. You're not going to see the print yet just because you don't have any pay stubs in the system. But once you do have a pay stub as of the first payroll in July, then you'll see the print icon right here. If that was not what you meant with your question, then either come off mute or add it into the chat. But I think that's what you meant. All right, before we move on to the resources in the system, does anyone have any questions on benefits? So the last couple items are all of the different resources that are available to you if you have any questions on anything PayCom, HR, or payroll related. So first resource is PayCom University, which is all of our videos in the system. You can access those by coming into Learning and My Learning. From here, you will see a PayCom University tab on the left-hand side, and you will be able to see all of the different courses that are available on everything in the system. So if you need additional support on the web time clock or the kiosk or submitting time off requests, you can just search for what your question is on at the top of the page, and you can access a video on that topic. So this is a great resource if you prefer to watch quick videos. Some people prefer to look at documents when they have questions, and we also have all of those available under the help menu and company information. This is where you can access all of our quick guides on everything we review today. These are really helpful because they're very condensed and straight to the point, and they all have screenshots and step-by-step instructions. So if you forget how to submit a time off request, or you don't remember where to go to change your username, the help menu is a great tool to access guides on how to complete those items. And lastly, if you have any questions on anything we've reviewed today, or in the future, if you ever have any HR or payroll related questions, you can always submit those through the system through Ask Here. So at the top of the page, you'll see a question mark. If you click on that, you'll see any questions you've submitted in the past, and you can always select New Message to submit a new question. From here, you would see the different items that you can submit questions about. So you would select the one that best describes what your question is on. You would then see some common questions on that topic, and if one of those is the question you want to submit, you can select it, or you can always select Other as well. You'll then be able to add in additional information or what your question is in regards to. And you'll also have the opportunity to upload supporting documentation as well if you had anything to attach to that inquiry or question. Once you've done that, you can submit your question and it will automatically be sent to the correct responder within the HR or payroll team. And once that person responds to you, you will get an alert, and you'll also be able to see their response through the system as well and respond back to them if you have any follow-up questions. So just a really helpful tool if you ever have any PayCom, HR, or payroll related questions. I think there's Paula, did you have a question?
Yeah, so to go back to the direct deposit, if they have direct deposit now, do you need to, are they going to have to re-enter the information into this system, or is it going to roll over from the old system?
It'll roll over.
Good, because it's not really working that easily on the app.
So yeah, it'll roll over. If you have any, if anything is incorrect, you're going to want to update it on the apps. We want everybody confirming the information is correct, but it will come over from the current system.
Later this month, or?
Nope, it should already be in there.
Yeah, it's not in there.
For you personally?
Yeah, I'm just looking at the app as you're talking these things through to see what it looks like for real, so I know the questions I'm going to get.
What is your last name? After the admin team.
Collins.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I don't have access to look at it right now, but we can definitely take a look and make sure that we look into that.
Yeah, you can give me a call if you want. I can walk through it just to see if I'm missing it. Like I said, I'm trying to anticipate the problems they're having because I'm definitely more tech savvy than a lot of my staff. So if I'm having trouble with it, they're never going to get it. So I just want to make sure I'm walking through it and then I can answer the questions.
Yep, definitely. So yeah, we'll take a look at that. We have a meeting right after this, so we'll take a look and get you an answer on that.
Thank you.
Yep. If anyone else has any issues with, having access to something other than time off requests and benefits, which are not live yet, or data, make sure you reach out to the HR and payroll team so that we can all look into it together and make sure it's corrected, or we, provide best practices or FAQs if it's something else. All right, so that is it for today's training. Just to recap, everybody should have already received their login information. It was sent out yesterday. If you have not received it, make sure you're checking your work email. And if you still cannot locate it, you can reach out to the HR or payroll team, and they will be able to resend it to you. Make sure you are logging in and setting up your account before the first punch-in date, which is this Sunday, June 13th for participants. And then make sure you are completing your checklist by Friday, June 25th, so that we know your data is correct for the first payroll, which is Friday, July 2nd. All right, and that is it. So thank you all for attending. If you have any questions, you can ask those now, submit them through the chat. I'll stay on for a couple more minutes and just answer any additional questions you might have. Anyone have any questions?
I do.
Sure.
All right, so I kind of jumped in a little late. My question is, so I've already set up my own. I know there's going to be a kiosk set up at every Ability One site. They have the option of using, at those kiosks, they can use their employee ID numbers, right?
Correct. Yep.
And then it's whatever, so therefore they don't need a password.
So the kiosk will look like this, and this is where they would enter the employee ID number. But it's meant to be like a fast way to clock in, so it's just for clocking in. If they want to access employee self-service, which is where we did the rest of the training, so to view pay stubs, add time off requests, view benefits, all of that is where they would use their username, password,
Right.
social. Yep. But
Okay, got it.
Even if they don't set up their account, they can still clock in using the kiosk. They just will not be able to clock in using the web time clock through employee self-service until they, set up their username, password, security questions, all of that.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions? Oh. All right. Well, thanks everybody for attending. Have a great rest of your day. If you have any questions, reach out to HR and payroll.